Greg Abbott.
Greg Abbott.
You, Greg Abbott. Hey guys, and welcome to the Socialist Techie Podcast, where we all still choose to live in Oklahoma. Imagine that. Did y'all get that? Because it was our tagline as a state now.
Oh my god, are you serious?
It's our tagline.
Oh, fucking Christ.
Anyways, guys, welcome. We have a great show planned for all of you, and let's get to it, guys. Let me introduce everybody again. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, we have Mr. Jerome Giesinger.
What's going on?
I said you're listening.
Yeah.
James.
Hello.
And Jacob.
Howdy.
And I'm your glorious host with these glorious nails, Alberto. I think JB is giving me the looks.
I'm enjoying this. Keep it on, brother. Keep it on.
All right, so a very important topic on today's agenda. We've all heard about it. We all continue to hear about it. And everybody has difference of opinions on this matter. But there's just two sides. And we're on the right side. Wait, the left side. We're on the right side of that topic. But vaccine mandates. Guys, what was y'all's first impression when Sleepy Joe talked about vaccine mandates?
I mean, I personally was just relieved. I don't know if that's the right word. I've been so fed up with the fact that we hadn't had one. It was just relief. I don't know what else to say. Like, people had enough time to make the right decision with their freedom. So, fuck them.
So my first reaction to it when I first heard about it, I think I said something to you guys about, here we go. I thought I was going to die in the climate wars, but now I'm going to die in the vaccine wars. Because I honestly believe that, and a lot of people are like, no, they're fine. It's cool. They're harmless. But I'm like, man, there's going to be people that are going to like lose their shit and they're going to form vigilante terrorist groups and they're going to roam around and they're going to be in their compounds and they're going to be like, we're trying to save America and you just don't understand. Because, I mean, that's essentially like what I believe would happen. So, yeah, for the first part, I was like, oh, this is great. And now I'm sort of just like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, to your point, like, a lot of the people that I work with who are vehemently anti-vax, like, there are ones who aren't vaccinated who are like, I mean, if I absolutely have to, I will if they're going to fire me. But then there's some that are like, I'll fucking quit my job and, like, go do other shit. And they're all armed to the teeth. I mean, they're your 100-something guns, more than that type deal. And, like, unfortunately, living in Oklahoma, like, homegrown terrorist kind of hits close to home. Like, you don't write it off that easy. So, I don't know. Hopefully, they'll just not get vaccinated, get fired, and get COVID, and not attack anyone because they'll be dead.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, there's legal precedent for the United States mandating vaccines in certain situations. Biden is relying heavily on the case of Jacobson versus Massachusetts in 1905. I know that's what they're looking towards in defending this when it inevitably goes to court. GOP governors and what have you, certain conservative talking heads have already talked about taking everything to court. But there's already legal precedent there. And the Supreme Court, I believe in the 1950s, upheld that case because that was a state case, a state Supreme Court case. And then again, it was kind of reaffirmed in the cases of the Maricopa County Health Department versus Harmon.
Like, I've seen that a few times, them talking about the 1905 case, and it being argued also at a federal level. I've also seen certain people from a certain political spectrum say that, well, Roe v. Wade completely nullifies the 1905 Supreme court case, saying that you have the right to choose and so on and so forth. So that's an interesting thing, and it's coming from the same spectrum that is currently arguing to try to get rid of Roe versus Wade, which is interesting. But it's going to be interesting. I know that I've received at my place of work, we've received an email basically stating, we encourage you to get vaccinated. You don't have to, but we encourage you to get vaccinated. but you will be tested every week, that sort of thing. And I think we were kind of discussing that earlier in the week about how are companies going to stay with that? How long are they going to continue to test employees? So I work for a company that has roughly, 3,000, 4,000 employees. I couldn't tell you the percentage of people that have been vaccinated with the company. So that's going to be a lot of money that's being used at a considerable rate for ignorance, essentially.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they would rather pay for continuous testing rather than getting all their employees vaccinated. And if they can continuously pay for all these tests, why aren't they giving that money to their hourly wage?
I would definitely have to agree with that, but they're never going to give that. I think the company is going to wait. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, as a worker, it's nice that companies are so short-handed. It gives us room to leave and negotiate wages and all that. But as far as vaccine mandates, I think employers are going to weigh the cost of weekly testing and things like that more so, and they're going to be willing to eat it more so than if we were at full capacity at work and they weren't starving for workers. But I think it'll be a company by company basis where, like, my company employs roughly 60 to 70,000. So I don't think that they're going to, for long, eat that cost. They may continue to not enforce a mandate, however, pass it off to the employee. And also, I think one thing we're going to see is as like healthcare renewals come up, you're probably going to see a surcharge on people who are not vaccinated. And I am 100% for that. Now, kind of back to the Supreme Court and having precedent, what I worry is that this Supreme Court will overrule that precedent. But I did fortunately read a comforting article where it kind of pointed out that the fact is in order for the Supreme Court to do that, it will be months and months. So it will probably stay or, go back and forth from lower courts on again, off again. And you'll still have the crunch of forcing people to get vaccinated along the way. So, even if they do overrule it, hopefully we can get most everyone vaccinated in the meantime.
And that's kind of my point, though, is there's already legal precedent. So if the courts still choose to strike these laws down, then they're not going with precedent. And it's pretty clear to me that would be just for political reasons. And that's not what the court is supposed to be about. So I take issue with that. If these people really purport to be upholding the rule of law, then they should be going with precedent that's already been established in this country. That's what this is all about. Rule of law. That's what our country is based on. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. There's already established precedent.
The thing is what is it? What's the number? Like 250,000 kids have contracted the Delta variant. And I think Michigan had their first child that passed from the Delta variant. And when people get so upset, I guess it's just being so insensitive. It doesn't matter how many people are dying. The thing is people are dying. Kids are dying now.
Yeah, and as a parent, that's what's been most infuriating about all this. Like, I sent my oldest daughter to school because I had to weigh the statistics. And that's something no parent should have to fucking do. Is like numerically look at something and say, this is terrifying. I'm putting my child at risk because I am. But having to weigh out the pros and fucking cons of it all when it is as simple as a vaccine, right? Like as a parent, you make that decision throughout their life. You can't keep them in a bubble. You can't just keep them locked up. You have to do that. But to have other people force that upon you is just sickening. It's infuriating. And I don't know, luckily, at least in our area, Lawton schools just instituted a mask mandate. So they bucked against the governor, and I cannot tell you how happy I am. But, fact is, we got to get people vaccinated. So, I don't know. It's quite disheartening how little of a shit people do.
So, I want to say something about when we're talking, today is September 11th. As we're recording this and everything like that, How many people died during September 11th attacks? Off the top of your head.
3,000, roughly. Roughly 3,000.
The state of Florida recorded like over 1,000 deaths, like recently, I believe, in one day. So you've got a third of the deaths in 9/11 happening pretty regularly. That was the problem when we had the start of this pandemic. We were losing how many people as rapidly as we were, and people were in outrage over it when 9/11 happened. I mean, we invaded 2 countries. We were in war for a number of years, one ending just recently. So why are people not upset about their loved ones dying? Why is it that we would rather say, well, I'm sorry, but the old folk, our grandparents, got to die for capitalism, for the economy to stay strong? Why was that something that is said, or something that was said in regards to this? This is something that's not new. We've been dealing with this pandemic for almost coming up on 2 years. It's a long time.
The major difference is that 9/11 was in everyone's face, right? For the people who are most anti-vaccine and anti-government overreach and all that bullshit, they didn't have to see COVID until very recently, right? It hit mainly urban areas. It hit mainly the Northeast and more bluer states. It wasn't in this area. And so they never saw it. And it kind of goes along with the same mentality as I don't believe in gay people or gay marriage and all that, right up until their kid or their nephew is gay. And all of a sudden they have a come to Jesus and how it is the right thing and all that. For a lot of people, until they see something personally, it's not their problem. And they don't want to do anything or take any sort of viewpoint because it's not their problem. And it's only just recently that it has become their problem. But the fact is, until it is their mother dying, they still don't give a shit. Like, it's sad when it was old Johnny's mom down the road died, but it's not that sad. Till it's their mother, they don't give a shit. Till it's their kid or their son, they don't give a fuck. So
you would think that how easily they have blind faith to a God they can't see, and they can't fucking believe a virus that they can't see. Come on now. Baptists.
I remember seeing the images when the Delta variant was ripping through India, images of the funeral pyres and the nonstop cremations and them running short on oxygen and them running, basically people just dying by the thousands to the Delta variant because they were completely overwhelmed. And those are images that have stuck out to me. Images of people fearing for their lives and fearing that this isn't going away anytime soon. And we look at it as Americans, like you were saying, as it's not here, we don't have to worry about that. We've got this vaccine. And that's one thing I will say is that, the vaccine everyone's talking about was like, oh, well, Trump started the whatever, I can't remember exactly what it was called, trying to get a vaccine. That was one thing that he called on the pharmaceutical companies to work on.
Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah, Operation Warp Speed. And when they said, hey, we've got vaccines, we've got vaccinations out, people praised him from the right, saying, well, we've got this vaccine. And props to him, man. Like, that, I'm not giving him entirely all the credit for it, but at the same time, like, people from the right were saying, well, we got this vaccine and all this, he should get credit for it and all that. Well, that's great. Are you going to fucking take the vaccine? Like, you were all about it when it was his, but now that it's a change of office, you're like, no, it's got microchips in it, and like, it's gonna like make you sterile, and it's gonna like, I mean, like, half those people don't need to breed anyway, so who gives a fuck? But that's the thing that bothers me is like, let's stop and take this out of politics. It's not a political thing. It's a thing that like a virus doesn't give a fuck if you're left-leaning or right-leaning or if you're in the middle or what it is. It doesn't give a fuck. It will kill you either way. It doesn't care if you're a Muslim or you're a Christian or you're an atheist or agnostic or Hindu or Buddhist or Jewish. It will kill you regardless. Doesn't matter any of that. So we're putting politics on something that doesn't need politics on it. Just go get vaccinated. Fucking care for your fellow man. It's that simple. Let's move forward from this.
Right? Because let's make it real fucking clear. Anyone who's out there going, oh, my freedoms and blah, 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 they're sheep. They're idiots. I don't know what else to say. You're a fucking idiot. Or you're a callous fucking person. It's one or the other. There is nothing else. You're either stupid or you don't give a fuck about anyone else. So, honestly, for me, the alternative to a vaccine mandate, the one that I accept and could never happen, would be if you're not vaccinated when you get the COVID, you don't get to go to the fucking ER. And you get to have your freedom at your fucking home, while the rest of us can go to the ER for either COVID or heart problems or all that other bullshit that they're filling meds for. I would accept that, but we can't have that because, doctors aren't shitty people for the most part. So, in the interim, yeah, fine, let's have fucking vaccine mandates.
So, with the mandate, I want to hear, are there any predictions of what could come? I mean, because we have several states, several governors, one that we're going to talk about later, that are opposing the vaccine mandate and combating it. What are some predictions? Do you think this could be the beginning of what people are talking about, of civil war or an uprising of the right?
I think that you will have, as Jacob alluded to earlier, you may have incidents, small violent incidents. But as far as the grand scheme of it, a governor does not impact a multinat, right? Like Greg Abbott, who stands for nothing, does not impact a multinational corporation. And that multinat, or even, a large local, large American corporation, any major corporation doing business in this country, are not going to rest like their hopes and dreams on a governor. They're just going to do what OSHA says and call it. So yeah, we may have small incidents of violence, but corporations are in fact going to either mandate weekly testing or you get the vaccine. It is as easy as that.
So that makes me think, could corporations basically, if something happens where, say, a governor of a certain state says, hey, we're against this vaccine mandate, people in this state don't have to get it, we're completely against it, at that point, could a state or could a corporation take a state to court for loss of revenue or something along those lines?
Here is the thing, and I fucking hate these laws so much. I loathe them. But every single state whose governor is saying that we're going to fight this and blah, 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 they're right to work states. Oklahoma is right to work. Texas is right to work. Florida is right to work. They already set their own laws where that fucking corporation can mandate their workers do anything within, well, frankly, federal limits. So, no, that governor can't say we're not allowing this in our state. They have already made the laws that says that corporation can require certain things, one of which would be to follow OSHA practices.
So this is the part of the podcast where I get to rant. JB, Jerome, has given me the freedom to rant about whatever I want. And I got to thinking to myself, what do we want to rant about? Who do we want to rant about? Who do we hate? When do we hate them? Remember our protest days, guys? Occupy Wall Street?
I got fired from my job for that. By my dad. I worked for my dad and he fired me.
We're going to talk about Greg motherfucking Abbott in Texas. Because both suck. Both just suck. All-time high unemployment. Over 3.8 million people unemployed in Texas. Texas fucking sucks. I can't think of one thing good about Texas. Dallas Cowboys sucks. Texas A&M sucks. What's the other Texas team? Longhorns sucks. We're all from Oklahoma, so we have to say Texas sucks. But also it fucking sucks. Greg Abbott. Let's talk about Greg Abbott, guys. He literally thinks he can get or do away with rape.
I don't know about Greg Abbott. He's how do I put this? If he's a Batman villain, he's probably the dude, the Mad Hatter, is that his name? That basically puts cards in girls' ears and takes control of them. That's Greg Abbott. He's trying to cover up all of his crimes in his past. That's what I would say. I mean, Texas. That's all I'm saying. I'm not a fan of Greg Abbott. I have family that lives in Texas. I feel sorry for a lot of people that live in Texas. I feel sorry for people that are having to go through what they're going through because of Texas. And I think it's the biggest thing is so Texas in 10 years is going to be a purple state. There's no way around it. They have to try to kick and fight and claw and bite to do everything they can to not become a purple state and a battleground state. And I think that's what Greg Abbott is essentially doing. He's throwing everything he can at the fucking walls and seeing what sticks.
Here's the thing with Texas and their law that they've done with abortion. So you create an issue of standing where you encourage citizens to essentially narc on each other. And I don't see how that's ever going to hold up or work in a civilized society where you have to have like some harm that's done to you in order to file a suit or get anything done in the legal system. So I just feel like that's a bad precedent to set. I don't think it's going to stand at all. I think, unfortunately, the way the Supreme Court has done it is not very good. But I think ultimately that will be the result. Is it's not gonna stand.
I agree. Oh, I got 2 points. I got a joke for you, Albert. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I do.
All right. This is Oklahoma joke. Why is Oklahoma so windy?
Oh, God dang it! Why?
Because Kansas blows and Texas sucks.
Texas sucks.
All right. And my second point, controversial. That's all I got to say on Greg Abbott.
I'll say this. I heard some good points this past week from women that if they are going to, with this anti-abortion law, why can't people start paying child support during that time frame? If they can't have an abortion after 6 weeks and they think that it's an actual life, start having child support being paid, state funding or state services being able to do that. Let them claim them on their taxes if it's a viable life. If they think it's an actual life and she's taking care of that baby, she deserves the assistance, the time off, claiming on taxes, all that stuff.
Yeah, but pro-lifers aren't pro-life. They're pro-unborn, right? Because when people are born, you have to educate them. In a lot of cases, you may have to subsidize their lifestyle because, they may not have enough money. They're not pro-life. They're pro-unborn because it's easy because, unborn babies aren't, people of color. They aren't unemployed. They aren't underemployed. They're a non-existent person that you can just easily say, I support them, and what are you gonna do? What's the opposition movement? It's I hate unborn babies. No, they got the perfect marketing tool.
So you also see something along the lines of I saw somebody bring up the fact that there's a lot of children in foster care systems and up for adoption and things like that. Why are people not reaching out to them? And Texas doing their just part if they want to do this and pass this law and everything like that and keep it mandated. Why is no one giving a shit about these kids within the system? Because that's a system that, probably like Oklahoma's, very much overwhelmed, I'd assume. So, yeah, I've brought that up plenty of times, that once a child is born, the right don't give a shit about it. And that's the facts. I mean, no one cares about a 17-year-old girl who has a kid and is on their own, and they're like, well, she should have made better choices. That's essentially what the right says after a child is born. There's no help for that girl. There's no help to end that sort of cycle. We would rather say, well, she can pull herself up by her bootstraps, instead of saying, well, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to get support for you and things along those lines. But that's just not how it works in the United States.
Well, when we say, guys, that we hate Texas, We don't hate all the people in Texas. Thank you, JB. And we want to say that there are a lot of people in Texas that we love. My grandparents, they're wonderful people. And I feel bad that they all still live down there. And women, we're sorry that you have a horrible governor that doesn't care about you, about your rights, about your choice. They care about their choices when it comes to the jab or when it comes to the mask, but they don't care about yours. And we apologize for that. Do we have to apologize for that?
No,
No, fuck Greg Abbott.
agreed. And also, side note, Greg Abbott aside, Texas sucks. Like, there is East Texas. Yeah, like, East Texas is pretty, but even in the pretty part, it's hot as fuck. Like, it's hot as fuck. Most Texas is desert. It's a place that dinosaurs went to and looked down and said, fuck this, and laid down to die. That's why they got so much what?
It was an ocean, or a sea, rather. So, yeah.
Oh my god, it was a sea, excuse me. But, yeah, no, Texas sucks. It's hot as shit. Like, it sucks. Like, even Austin's like their little liberal stronghold. It's so hot. It's so hot.
So here's, like, Austin fucking sucks, too. And I've been to Austin a few times. And every time I've been to Austin, I've been like, God, this place fucking sucks. And, like, I understand. It's a nice hit place. Their motto is keep it weird. But at the same time, anytime I've been to Austin, I haven't had that great of a time. It is what it is. I'm not a huge fan of Texas. I've been to Texas a number of times. Like I said, I have family down there. And I just hate driving down to Texas. James, when you went down to Galveston, how long was that drive?
I went to Padre, and it was like I'd say at least an 8-hour drive. It was long.
Did you have a good time?
It was fun.
God damn it. Well, just at least tell me you were inconvenienced slightly.
It's me you're talking to. Of course I was inconvenienced.
Last message to Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott, each of us want you to know, if Jesus Christ was on this planet today, he wouldn't even look at you. He would scoff and walk away. That's it. That's all I have. I don't even want to think about him for the rest of the day. All right, guys. Jerome, James, Jacob, any words of inspiration to the world out there before we close out?
Yeah, I want to say something. Vasectomies are covered by your health insurance if you're a man. And also, if you don't have health insurance, it's $700.
James?
Get vaccinated. Be safe. Don't be an idiot. That's all I got.
Jerome?
I don't know, words of wisdom. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. It's great. Guys, you heard it from all of us. We talked about the vaccine mandate. We said, fuck you to Greg Abbott. I don't think we can say that enough times. What we want to do, though, is if you have an opinion, put it in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have a question, ask it. Maybe we can answer it in our next podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed this evening. And until next time, guys, we're not sponsored by Coke.
No, we are not sponsored by Coke.
I give my cats half a can of Coca-Cola each every day, and they are gaining weight faster than any cat that I have ever seen. So, Coke, if you're listening, I just want to let you know, you're doing the Lord's work with just add more cocaine to it, is all I'm saying.